In every stadium echo, in every crackle of a leather ball on frozen turf, there are names we remember and names we forget. For Swindon Town, many remember Chris Kamara, a man who in 1977 became the first black player to make a league appearance for the club. He scored on his debut and nearly 300 games followed. He made it in management and he became a beloved broadcaster. Chris Kamara, a trailblazer, but he was not the first black man to sign professionally for Swindon Town. That honor goes to a Nigerian, a winger called Titus Okere, a man whose story has long gathered dust, buried beneath the weight of forgotten history, but whose journey deserves to be told not as footnote but as foundation. It is 1949. The world is still reeling from the aftershocks of World War II. Nigeria remains under British rule, and Lagos, though bustling, is still shaped by colonial systems. But within this controlled environment, football is thriving. Railway FC is one of the top teams in the country, a club of clerks, postmasters, and raw talents. That's where we first hear of Titus Okere. A swift-footed, technically gifted winger with a natural understanding of space and environment. He was nicknamed Golden Boy, not for flashiness, but for how bright he shone every time he touched the ball. In September of that year, an ambitious idea took shape. A Nigerian touring team, handpicked from clubs across the country, was invited to England to play a series of friendlies. They were amateurs, yes, but they were also representatives, ambassadors, trailblazers. Okere was among them. 9 matches were played across England, mostly in London and the surrounding counties. They faced teams like Bromley, Bishop Auckland, and Dulwich Hamlet. But this wasn't just about football. It was a cultural exchange, a battle for perception. Many in England had never seen African players before. They expected chaos, but they met technique. And in that moment, the myths began to crumble. At Dulwich Hamlet, 18,000 people showed up. Yes, 18,000 for a midweek friendly. And when the match started, all eyes were drawn to a slim winger dancing down the flanks in unfamiliar boots. Titus Okere stood out, not just for his ability, but for his elegance. One English newspaper called him worth £15,000 and a row of houses. Another said he was too intelligent for the division. But England, as always, watched with one eye open and one eye closed. 4 years passed, and in January 1953, Swindon Town made a decision. They signed Titus Okere, the first black professional at the club. At the time, it felt like progress, a nod to potential, a step forward. But in truth, the door was only half open. Okere did not arrive at England until February the 2nd. 9 days later, he made his debut, not in the first team, but in a combination match against Bristol City. The weather was unkind, the pitch a swamp. The floodlights cast long shadows over his every move. Yet still, he played. The Swindon Advertiser praised him, noting deft touches with both feet. He admired his intelligence, his awareness. They even noted that he had never worn real football boots before, only elasticated ankle straps or more often barefoot. To come from barefoot football to a swampy British pitch in February and still impress, that wasn't just talent, it was courage. But the fairy tale did not continue. By March, Okere had been relegated to Swindon Town's third team. The Gloucestershire Senior League, out of sight, out of consideration. Still, he persisted. In one match against Leeds, Swindon scored 14 goals. Okere was at heart of it. His wing play was dazzling. The newspaper raved. Speedy wig runs were alternated with tricky footwork. His centers were models of accuracy. And then came his goal, a clever chip into the far corner. For a brief moment, you could almost imagine him breaking into the first team. But that dream ended quickly. The manager who had signed him, Louis Page, left the club. His replacement, Maurice Lindley, did not reach Okere. The Nigerian was not part of his plans. Just like that, his chances evaporated. He was released by Swindon Town without ever making a league appearance. He joined Chippenham United and faded quickly from English football spotlight. Why does this story matter? Because football remembers finishers and not starters. And Titus Okere was a starter, a symbol, a sacrifice. He came at a time when England did not know how to welcome black players, when racism was unspoken but omnipresent, when talent alone was never enough. He was not given time, he was not given space, but he showed what was possible even under the weight of unfamiliar boots and frozen soil. Today, we celebrate African players in the Premier League and other parts of Europe, from JJ Okocha to Victor Osimhen. We speak of history, of legacy, but before all of them, there was a quiet, forgotten figure in Swindon, Titus Okere, the first black player to be offered a professional contract by the club, a man who left the shores of Lagos with dreams of making it big in a cold foreign land. He did not lift trophies, he didn't make headlines, but without men like Okere, there would be no Chris Kamara, no John Fashanu, no Ethan Ekoku, just silence. As of the last record, Titus Okere lived in Medway towns of Kent. He is in his late 90s now, one of the last surviving members of the historic 1949 tour. He may have been forgotten by football, but we remember, we honor him, not as a failure, but as a forerunner. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss more updates from us. Have a great week ahead.